Hi, my name is John Pope. I'm a double bass player and an improviser and a composer based in Newcastle upon Tyne. I've been playing gigs at the Newcastle Festival of Jazz and Improvised Music since its very first edition. And I've had a long-standing relationship with Jazz Northeast and all the folks who've been involved in it. I've been playing on the scene for quite a while. So it's always a treat to get to come along and be involved in this fest because it's such a great such a great moment in improvised music in the Northeast. I lead a band of my own, a quintet, the John Pope Quintet, which is out on New Jazz and Improvised Music Recordings. I also play bass in the trio Archipelago with Faye McCalman and Christian Alderson. And I do various and sundry other projects at varying levels of preparedness, be they sort of improvised music or more mainstream capital J jazz or other types of things. So yeah, very busy, particularly at this edition of the festival.
Yeah, I've got you down for 4 gigs, which is pretty epic. So you're starting off the festival with playing with Archipelago.
It's Faye McCalman's brainchild. In a lot of ways, it's a genre blending alt jazz sort of garage rock band with various influences. It's one of my favorite projects. I absolutely love playing that music and playing with those guys. We've got a gig with that band at Bobix in Newcastle on the 24th of September, which is a Saturday. Sharing the bill with Taupe, who are sort of math rock freak jazz pioneers, and the great S.A. Malley. Steve Malley is playing a guitar solo set. And this is a real sort of friends and family kind of affair. We've been friends with the guys out of Taupe for a long time, worked with all of them at various points in different projects. And Christian plays with Steve Malley in the unit Amma, and there's a real sort of sense of connection between a lot of the bands who are on this gig, because we've all sort of come up together. I think Taupe are celebrating their 10th year with this tour that they're on, is like their 10th anniversary. Archipelago is not quite as old, but not far off in terms of the sort of time that we started. And Faye and Jamie Stockbridge and all the other guys in Taupe all sort of knew each other through the university course in Newcastle. So there's definitely a lot of connection and a lot of sort of familiarity. So it's really exciting. It's really, really great to get to see those guys. We've played with them on bills in Newcastle before, but it's been a long time. So both bands have changed and evolved quite a lot. So it's going to be a real treat to see that. And I've never seen Steve do the solo guitar thing. So I'm really excited to see what that sounds like, because he's been experimenting with effect pedals and all kinds of cool things, which he swore he would never do. And now he's doing it. So we'll see. We'll see what the results of that is.
The following weekend, you've got a gig with Binker Golding, Alex Hawkins, and Paul Hession. Now, you played with Paul and Alex at the festival in 2019, along with Evan Parker, if I recall correctly. Right. Yeah. So there's a bit of an existing relationship there, but bringing in Binker Golding is obviously a new twist. I guess it's a free improvised gig.
It's a free up for sure. I'm very excited because I've seen Binker in the Binker and Moses sort of situation, and then in some of the more, again, I guess mainstream or slightly straight ahead things that he's been involved in through the London scene. Some bands have come up where he's been playing, but I got to see him playing a trio gig up here with Steve Noble on drums and John Edwards on bass earlier this year, and I knew Binker could do the free jazz thing, but I hadn't seen him do it yet. And then when I saw him do it, I thought, oh, this is really severe. He's in it. He's really in that world. And it was suggested, Wes Stevenson, who runs the festival, who I've got a long-term working relationship with. He's a real good pal and a very supportive friend who's been, supportive of my music and the work that I've been doing. And we're both improv music enthusiasts, and we're always ringing each other up and saying, oh, wouldn't it be cool to see these people together? Wouldn't it be cool to put these people in this sort of situation? And he said, I'd love to have that section again. Alex is going to be here. We can get Paul Hession up again, and we could get another saxophone player. I thought maybe Binker Golding. And I thought, oh yeah, we'd sort of been umming and ahhing about doing a gig, and then we both saw that gig with Binker and John Edwards and Steve. And we came away afterwards and we sort of looked at each other and we went, Binker? I said, yeah, Binker, we should do that. So it's going to be great. And it's going to be, I love playing with Alex. It's such a, he's so inventive and dynamic, and it's such a kind of it's a challenge that's really, really rewarding, because any idea you throw out, he can immediately grab and do something with in a really inventive way. Paul Hession is just a powerhouse. Like, standing next to that is just incredible. So I have to work out. I have to get my chops together between now and that gig, because I'm gonna have to survive a set length's worth of improvisation with Paul Hession giving it everything he's got. So yeah, I'm super excited. I'm really, really looking forward to that. And the rest of the bill of that night looks great. You know, Nicole Mitchell's playing solo. So I think, you know, just to see that as well, it's going to be a really inspiring evening, I think.
Then you're also playing with Beck Hunters. I guess you and Laura Cole are the guests in that band.
Mm-hmm. Well, the Hunter brothers I've worked with quite a lot.
Yeah.
Johnny Hunter plays drums in my quintet, and Anton is one of the first people that I met on the kind of improv scene when I started sort of putting my feelers out from just Newcastle to sort of see who else was in the country who was doing stuff. Anton was one of the first people who I got in touch with and really sort of formed an understanding with. And Mick Beck, funnily enough, is the first free improviser I ever saw live at the Star and Shadow here in Newcastle. I think it must be 12 years ago now, 11, 12 years ago. I saw Mick do a solo set on bassoon and tenor saxophone. And again, I knew about improvised music as a thing, but I'd never really been to see it. I hadn't observed it happening in person in that real old school down the line UK free improv thing. And it just rewired me. So getting to play with Mick, I have played with Mick before, and met him a few times through the university association. So it's not completely unexpected, but it's just always, it's really special for me because of that connection, you know, him having been one of the first people who kind of I saw doing the music. And that trio with the Hunter brothers and Mick has existed for a while. And Laura is just great. And every time I get a chance to work with her, I'm reminded about how deep she is and how sort of, you know, how thoughtful and how just nice to work with and be around as a person. And then also to sort of hear her play the stuff, which is so open and expressive. And again, she's another musician who has sort of working associations with, you know, she works with Johnny quite a bit. She's worked with Anton as well. So it's a nice match of people who all have a bit of experience with each other, but basically a new situation to sort of find ourselves in. So, you know, I'm thrilled for that one too. And then again, another really good gig, Blacktop with Mariam Razai and oh gosh, I can't remember who else is on that gig. It's
Daniel Levin.
Daniel Levin, that's right. Yeah, solo cello, serious business, man.
Yeah,
everyone's in doing a lot. I'm really excited for the day with Ruth Goller as well, because I haven't seen Skylar, her solo project yet. That album, when it came out last year, I was just like blown away. It's mind-boggling music, completely like its own thing. I really can't think of any other lines to draw it from it. You know, it's kind of, it seems so singular. And then she's playing with Pete and Seb as well, which which I think will be really, really exciting.
And then your fourth gig of the festival on the last day, a duo with John Garner. So yeah, maybe tell me a bit about that. You've been playing together quite a bit.
John and I have been playing together quite a bit, and it's always been in quite different sort of settings. Even though the instrumentation stays the same, it's usually double bass and violin. Sometimes we might use some other bits and pieces, but I played in a band that he was leading for a little while, and then we got together and did quite a lot of free improvising through the sort of the beginnings of opening up post-lockdown. I think we were sort of starting to do quite a bit of that, and a little bit before lockdown as well. But we've just developed a really interesting sort of working relationship where we see each other quite a lot socially and just hang out. And then also part of that is just playing, you know, just making music together. And we've worked quite a bit as educators and workshop leaders together with various places in Newcastle and a little bit further abroad, because John works for Leeds Conservatoire. But this project, and it seems to be the thing that's kind of crystallized out of all of these little strands, is a duo that focuses on repertoire by sort of some fringe composer figures of 20th century jazz. Maybe not so fringe, but people who don't crop up quite so frequently when you sort of see repertory projects, I guess. So we've got some Carla Bley music, we've got some music by Ornette Coleman, we've got some Braxton stuff is in there, Jeannie Lee and Albert Eiler, people like that who are kind of, you know, names in fringe jazz. but maybe a little bit less frequently encountered in more kind of mainstream spaces. And the fact that it's violin and double bass puts it in a really interesting space, because we're both string instruments. So there's this immediate kind of acoustic, almost classicism to it, like a classical kind of thing is there. And John has that training entirely. You know, he's a symphonia player and has done a lot of orchestral stuff. But as an improviser and a creative mind, he's just totally wide open sideways. So we got together and played a bunch of that music and really liked it, and decided to record some of it, which we did at Blank Studios here in Newcastle last November. And this gig is kind of a warm-up gig for some dates that we're going to go on in November. So it's a nice chance to get out and air some of this stuff. Again, that's a very Newcastle-focused program, because Zoe Gilby's playing as well, and then Diluted Juice are playing after us. And that gig, again, sort of runs the gamut of the sort of things that are happening on the Newcastle jazz scene, I think. From like a very upbeat party thing with Diluted Juice through to, you know, Zoe's kind of classic jazz vocalist thing, going right down the tradition, and in a really kind of, you know, embodied way. She really understands that music and performs it in a very real way. And then John and I doing this kind of slightly more left field, but still with a foot in the tradition kind of thing. But I mean, we kind of go anywhere with the stuff, you know. We can play it very straight, or we can play it very abstract, and we quite like leaving that up to however the gig dictates. You know, we've kind of spent enough time working together as pure improvisers that we can get to that sort of malleability with the material quite quickly, and it makes it quite fun to sort of just decide a few tunes and then jump in and say, all right, well, it feels like this is going to be quite out, this one, so we can really lean into that. Or one of us can be really out and the other one can be really in, and it's sort of the dual flexibility really gives us that sort of space. I really can't wait for the weekend. I think it's going to be super, super good.